On this episode of Shannon Ayers Speaks.
Hello, beautiful Deborah Joy Winans. We want to welcome you to our Hello Beautiful audience. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, Shannon, thank you for having me. This is an honor and a privilege. I grew up feeling like wherever we went, whatever we did, it did not matter in the grand scheme of things. Everything that you want in life takes hard work. You're going to have to work hard. It doesn't matter who you are. Your passions and your dreams, that's what God has given you. That's what God has put inside of you. The vision that you have for your life and what you love, that is what God has put inside of you, and is not up to anybody else to see it. Learn, grow, always be open, but recognize who is for you and who is against you. We waste so much of our time stuck on what somebody else is doing, and it has nothing to do with what we're supposed to be doing. And we don't have that much time as it is. So dig into who you're supposed to be and offer that to the world.
How does Deborah Joy Winans define self-love?
I define self-love by
Hello, beautiful Deborah Joy Winans. We want to welcome you to our Hello Beautiful audience. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, Shannon, thank you for having me. This is an honor and a privilege.
Wow, no, the honor is all mine. Having you here, of course, anybody with the last name Winans, of course, that's just an automatic and a given. But we know you within your own right, in addition to your wonderfully talented family, you within your own right, extremely talented, great actress, beautiful voice, beautiful. Who is Deborah Joy Winans?
Oh, Deborah Joy Winans is so many things. But honestly, Shannon, I'm a girl from the D. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. Born and raised. I have always had a passion to act since I was a little girl. And so growing up, my parents would take us to the movies on the weekend, and we would see double features, and I was mesmerized by the screen. And I just knew, something in me knew, I'm going to do that. That's what I want to do. And so that's what I pursued. Growing up in Detroit was interesting, was wonderful. I think that has really made me who I am. There's a certain sort of resilience that comes out of Detroit, and I think you need that in this industry. Yes. Because you'll be told a lot of no's, and you have to have a certain resilience to keep moving forward when maybe you don't see it, but I know this is who I'm supposed to be. And so I did my training. I remember I started in undergrad at Wayne State, and I told my parents I was going to major in theater. And they were like, I'm sorry, what? Because I hadn't done anything. And they were like, yeah, so maybe you should minor in that and maybe major in communications, Joy, or, you love to speak or you love to write. And I was like, yeah, I don't love either of those things. And then they saw me in my first show at Wayne State. It was called Hospice by Pearl Clegg. And they said, okay, this is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And they fully supported me. And so that's me in a nutshell. Born and raised in the D. I pursued my dreams. I got my BFA and my MFA in acting. I spent a month at the Moscow Art Theater School. Training there.
Right there. You just gonna just slip that in like that? Black girl in Moscow. Okay, can we talk about that for a minute? How was that?
It was amazing. It was mind-blowing. The culture, the way they do theater, the certain methods that they have. I mean, it was absolutely tremendous. I spent a month there just engrossed in the art, in the dance, the language. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I learned so much. And I'm telling you, when I knew acting was what I wanted to do, I knew I had a gift for it. But with any gift that you have to work it. It's never going to be its best right out the box. There's always room to grow. And I knew that was what I wanted to do. So when the opportunity came during undergrad to go to Moscow and spend a month at the Moscow Art Theater School learning, I thought, absolutely. And the first time it came around, I asked my dad, I said, Dad, can I go? I told him about it and he said no, like flat out. No, let me think about it. No, nothing. Just, he was like, no. I said, dang. So then the next year came and I asked him again. And then he said, let me pray about it. And then he came back to me like a week later. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, you can go this year. And what's interesting about it is that the year that I went, there were only 2 Black students, myself and one other, out of 15 students. And we ended up walking and meeting this couple that were located in Moscow, but they were freelance writers for the Detroit Free Press. And they were like, what are all of you doing here? So they came and they watched our classes. They did interviews. It was so crazy. They had done this trip plenty of times through my school. This had never happened. And then when we come back, there is a whole article in the Detroit Free Press that says Winans, along with 14 other students, just did this. It was amazing. It was like, Dad, you really prayed. You really knew when it was time for me to go there, because it was, everything just lined up. And it was such a great time in my life. I learned so many things, but more importantly, I was and still am so focused on learning my craft and so focused on trying to be the best that I can be at it. And that was a beautiful time for me. That's who I am. Moved out here for grad school, got my Master of Fine Arts in Acting from Cal Arts. And the rest is history. Never wanted to sing.
Yeah.
Never ever wanted to sing. It was always acting for me.
Wow. First, we have to give Daddy just a little airtime, because I tell you what, my kids, they know what to come to me for, because they know what they don't want to go to Daddy for. But I will say, thank God for Dad, because had Dad allowed you to go the year before, your experience may not have been the same.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the power of prayer, of discernment, and just trusting and knowing, what your kids need.
Yes.
And it's okay that they may seem disappointed. I was totally disappointed the first time. But then I get to go the next time, and what an incredible time I had.
Wow.
So yeah, you live and you learn, man.
Oh my gosh. And then we fast forward. Well, you know what? Before we even go there, how was it for you as little Deborah growing up with that last name? How was that experience for you?
I feel like it was regular, and I recognize that regular in the sense, for me, is probably not just the basic regular, but I didn't feel any different.
Yeah.
I didn't, my parents were huge on making sure we knew that we were no different than anybody else. Yeah. And I remember even the year that we went to the Grammys with my dad, he had to send us to school with a note so that the teachers we had to give it to the teacher, and they would excuse us because that was going to be our last day, and then we were going to be gone for a week. And he was like, don't show this note to anybody else. Don't tell anybody about this note. This don't mean nothing. We just don't have time to leave y'all here. Y'all got to come with us. It's like, okay, whatever. And so I grew up thinking the Grammys were nothing, because they made such, like, it was not a big deal. Yeah. I grew up feeling like wherever we went, whatever we did, it did not matter in the grand scheme of things. Everything that you want in life takes hard work. You're going to have to work hard. It doesn't matter who you are. And whoever you are doesn't make you any better than anybody else. And so growing up as a Winans, I got to do things, but it certainly didn't change who I am.
Yeah.
If anything, I felt like I had to work a little harder, because people would always assume. I heard this one, wasn't even really a rumor because I know the girl said it, but in Wayne State, I started getting cast as the lead in quite a few shows. And someone said she's only getting cast as the lead because she's a Winans and her family's all up in through Detroit. And I was like, is that what you think? No, 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 no. I will never be cast in something based off of a name. I'm going to have the work to back it up. And that just made me want to continue to work even harder and to always be my absolute best, not just for me, but I think that whatever we do is supposed to touch somebody, start some sort of conversation, make someone feel something. It's a service. And so it's not just for me to shine, it's for me to touch you. And I can't do that if I'm not giving my all. So yeah, I think that's the difference that it made. It just made me want to work even harder to be the best.
Well, and that's why I started off saying that, even though you have that last name, it's like you have to be given due credit for the work that you put in. And it shows. It shows that you're not just the name. It shows that you are Deborah Joy.
Thank you.
You're Deborah Joy, the actress. You're Deborah Joy, the activist. And then Deborah Joy, the singer. And it's not to minimize singing, but what really makes me appreciate you even more is, we know that there's a lot of nepotism that goes on, and it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
But to be able to stand in your own truth and know that this is something that I want. I don't want it because of who my parents are. I don't want it because of who my grandparents are. I want this because, just like you were saying, your parents, you had to even prove to them that this was something that you really wanted to do. And as with any parent, when you can see that your child is passionate about something, you want to support that. And so I'm sure that was some level of encouragement as well, to have your parents sign off and say, okay, we will support you. But,
absolutely.
Listen, I got to work at this. There's
absolutely.
Everything I have because I earned it.
Absolutely. And, the support and the encouragement that came from my parents and my brothers was and is astounding to me. It blesses me every time. And yes, they also, taught us that nobody owes you anything. And to me, your passions and your dreams, that's what God has given you. That's what God has put inside of you. The vision that you have for your life and what you love, that is what God has put inside of you, and is not up to anybody else to see it. As a matter of fact, they may not see it when you see it. They may not understand it when you speak it. But as long as you have the vision, you have the passion, you have the discipline, it will happen eventually. And then they will be able to see, oh, that's what you said. That's what you wanted to do. Oh, I see it now. It makes sense now. It's not always going to make sense in the beginning, but nobody owes you anything for it to make sense to them. It's your life. And this is your dream and your desire. So you got to do the work, and you got to pursue it, and you have to be disciplined. Nobody else can do that for you.
No, that's beautiful. Tell me, how did it make you feel when that person made that comment? Because I know sometimes, excuse me, especially being women of color and having that experience where sometimes our own can be not as supportive as we want them to be. And knowing that, no, I am sincere, I am genuine, I wish you no harm. But yes, I want to, go after my dreams. And sometimes people hate on that, and then your last name, and wait, then you cute, this way. You want to be cute, talented, and have a last name, really? That heifer, you know how it goes.
Oh, it does. And it's so unfortunate, because then as you grow older and you actually get into the business, I walk into, used to pre-COVID, walk into a room, for an audition, and I sign in and I see another, woman of color there, and I'm like, hi. But we've been so conditioned that whoever else is in the room is your enemy, that we don't even know how to speak to each other. We don't know how to hold each other up. We don't know how to say, girl, go get it. Because at the end of the day, what I do know is whatever is for me is for me.
Absolutely.
You can't take it. It doesn't matter how hard you try. And so what is the point of me walking into room and giving you this stone cold face and not speaking, not smiling? What's the point of that? All it does is continue to drive a wedge between us and make us feel like we're constantly competing. I'm competing with nobody. No one, because whatever God has for me is for me. And so in my, younger mind in undergrad, initially I was like, why would she even say that? Because I also thought we were friends. I was like, why would she say that? She knows how hard I work. She knows that I don't just get a role and just halfway do something. She knows that I prepare my auditions. She knows the hours that I put in. And so why would she ever say something like that? And then I just remember my dad saying, doesn't matter what they say, do you do the work? You do the work, it doesn't matter. And I know I do the work. So then all it did was fuel me to really do the work and really knock it out of the park. And that's what I did, man. I'm proud. I'm proud of the plays I did in undergrad. I'm proud of the plays I did in grad school. There was a play called Trojan Women that I did in grad school, but it was really small, in a very small room. CalArts is a very unique place. And so there was a small sort of building where they did different performances. And I had about 10 minutes in this play. I was in the play for 10 minutes, but it was a very dramatic moment. This woman comes on and she sees these people. She begs for her son's life, and then she sees them kill him, and then she's gone. That was all I had to do, 10 minutes. And I remember standing in the back, just watching people kind of file in. It's a small place. And I looked up and I saw Andy Garcia sitting in the front row, and I was like, I'm sorry. Can somebody tell me why Andy Garcia is here and why he's so fine? I mean, that man is fine. And
he all right.
That man, since the Untouchables, I've been like, yes, Andy Garcia. And someone told me that one of the young ladies in the ensemble was his daughter. And I said, of course she is. And she's beautiful. And so, the play goes, I do my thing, and I had to do it right in front of him because he sat in the front row. And then play was over, everybody clapped, blah, blah, blah. At the end, that man walked across the room and gave me a hug and a kiss and told me beautiful work. And I said, this is what I'm talking about. I don't care what anybody thinks of me as far as, oh, she only gets this opportunity because of who she is. No, I got this opportunity because I went and auditioned for this school. I got accepted. I got a partial scholarship, and I came here and I did the work, which is why Andy Garcia walked halfway across the room to let me know he enjoyed my work. I do this because this is what I do, and I'm great at it, and I continue to put in the work. And so, all that did years ago was fuel me to make sure I am my best every time.
Well, they say all things work together.
Yes, they do, for the good of those that love God. They do. They surely do.
But you have to know, when you were asking yourself, why would she do that? You have to know that wasn't even about you. Because
no, not at all.
To other people. Unfortunately, we try to discredit each other in front of other people to highlight what we think is best about us. And unfortunately, it actually highlights more deficiencies than anything. It's
Absolutely.
It was probably her own insecurities. I mean, I've had those experiences myself, so as a color. And that was why I asked you that, because there have been women that I've engaged and interacted and have been their biggest cheerleader. And they will turn around, and before I know it, I'm hearing this, I'm hearing that. And you know what it does? It makes me love them even more. You know, if I got to love the hell right out of you, that's exactly what I'm doing. So,
Absolutely.
forward.
because you recognize that they're missing something. The fact that you feel like you need to downplay me or discredit me to make yourself look good means, oh, you're lacking inside. There's something else that you need. This is nothing to do with me. You know, I will love you. I will pour the love on, and I will recognize where it's coming from. I'm also a firm believer in believe what people show you.
Yep.
Believe who they are when they show you. And you know, learn, grow, always be open, but recognize who is for you and who is against you.
Absolutely. I
And
mean,
be okay with it.
yes.
It's okay. It's not going to stop who you are. Just understand what's happening.
And just like you said, you know, we can thank her, you know, because she is in part responsible for this wonderfully, beautifully talented lady right here before you. So we thank you, sister girl, whoever you are. I love it. I love it. Because you have to find a way, you know, because it is hurtful at times. It's very
absolutely.
And I have no doubt that she probably had talent within her own right. But when you
wonderful talent. Wonderful talent. I've never understood why, you know, my gift is different than yours. But that's on purpose.
Yes.
God didn't make us the same on purpose. We all have something to offer, and there is space for all of us.
Yes.
So, and she's wonderfully gifted.
Wow. And I tell you, honestly, that was the reasons why I created Hello Beautiful. And I always say Hello Beautiful is where we encourage women and girls to understand their beauty by design and know their worth. You know, we all, first of all, were created in his image. And just like you said, you know, we all have our gifts. We all have our talents. Unfortunately, some of us, instead of using that energy to improve, to grow, to do better, we expend that energy hating on somebody else or trying to tear somebody else down. And it's very unfortunate. I've seen some very talented women. So I had somebody told me I smiled too much. You know, I could not make it up. I was told that. You know, every time I see you, you always smile. And I'm like, well, what do you want to see?
You want me to be miserable? You want me to be mad? Like, what does that mean?
And you know exactly what that means. Is what they're not saying is right now I'm miserable. And you know, how dare you smile in my presence when I'm miserable? And that's heartbreaking for me, because if there's anything I can do to encourage somebody, sometimes it's detriment. You know, I would rather spend my energy giving you a hug and saying, sis, you got this.
Absolutely. And I think that's the really sad part is life is so short. And so why spend it being mad at somebody else or hating on somebody else? Spend it doing what God has placed you here to do.
Yes.
Spend it loving, spend it enjoying. We waste so much of our time stuck on what somebody else is doing, and it has nothing to do with what we're supposed to be doing. And we don't have that much time as it is. So dig into who you're supposed to be and offer that to the world. Don't offer your opinion of me, because guess what? I'm gonna keep going. It doesn't really matter, you know, what you think. And so I would suggest that you get going. And don't waste your time talking about me.
Isn't that the truth? And when you mentioned talk about growing, you were asked in an interview about how, you know, what this quarantine has. It was about what the quarantine, what your experience has been during the quarantine. You had made a statement saying something about, you know, it's like you're either going to grow, or I'm trying to remember exactly what that was. You're going to either do the work or not grow during this time. So I want to ask you, over this time, how have you grown over the quarantine, over this experience that has really affected the world?
Oh yeah, it's completely affected the world. I have grown. I decided to, which is not always easy, and I get it. Um, life is life is really a series of moments and choices that you make in those moments. And for me, particularly when I realized that this quarantine was going to be a for real shutdown, I stopped taking it lightly and just saying, "Oh, I've got a couple weeks to just relax and have some cocktails and just, do what I want to do, watch some movies." And I really took inventory of who I am, uh, who I was, and who I want to be, and what were the necessary things to stay on track for who it is I want to be. And a lot of times that takes, a hard look in the mirror. We've been so busy, in the world, running, jumping on planes, doing this, doing that, that nobody really would like set aside the time to just look inward and say, am I really the best person inside that I can be? Because we're always running and we're always working and moving and shaking and everything. And so when the world had to be shut down, that was the moment where we realized, ooh, I've been moving so much that I haven't really looked inward. Am I living the things that I'm preaching? Am I, is my spirit where it should be? Is my motivation where it should be? I used to have a really, really bad attitude. I could get an attitude quick. Like, I'm from the D. It wasn't nothing to be like, what you talking about? And I learned over the years how to control that, but am I where I should be? So I just looked at a lot of things that maybe seem like flaws, and be okay.
Yeah.
I think initially, first of all, you just have to be okay with who you are and accept who you are. And then you just got to love who you are. I think the only way to grow those areas is to first love them. God loved us while we were yet sinners. And so we didn't have to become something great for him to love us. He loved us in all of our sin and our shame. And I think that we have to love ourselves in our totality, good and bad. And that's the only way that we can grow and continue to be better. And I just, I was looking at myself, and then I'm married. It'll be 8 years next month. And, your spouse is your greatest mirror.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Hold on. You got another hour?
I think you need to work on that. And so, but I'm so grateful that I have a husband that does it in such a loving way, that I can really look and see how I've grown.
Sure.
And why I've grown. And so that's what I did over the quarantine, focus on the things that matter and focus on being an even better version of myself. Focus on letting, things go that just really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. Just, you learn to appreciate things every day in life. The little things, man, I love smart water. Thanks, babe. You just went out and grabbed it and we still have a couple bottles left, but thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that you did something before I even asked, that you think about me, that you look. It's just the little things every day. And I think that quarantine, I think this pandemic, I think that the race pandemic has really shown us to not take any time for granted, not take any moment for granted, and to really, truly treasure life every single day.
Yes.
Every single day that you're able to get up, that you can breathe, is a day that you can make a change, that you can do something great for somebody. And that's been my quarantine.
Wow. No, that's awesome. And that was why I asked that question, because my husband and I, we just celebrated just a few days ago, 21 years of marriage.
Woo!
Yes, thank God. Thank God. And I know back in July, not only were we quarantined, we both had COVID together.
Wow.
We were both locked up in a room for almost
Wow.
together. And when I
Wow.
tell you, this is where, it really makes me grateful and thankful to be locked up in a room with a man that long, where it was just he and I. And when I tell you, aside from not feeling well, we had an absolute ball.
Yeah.
We did. And it just
Yes.
it makes you, like you said, it makes you treasure what you have. Um,
Mhm.
Entire experience, I'm sure, which is again why I asked you that question, because I'm sure people would want to know how people, in the industry, how you manage during this time, because you started off talking to us about, how life for you growing up, basically a sense of normalcy is what your parents
Mhm.
were able to provide for you. And the reason why I have guests on like you is because I want other women to know and see, that as beautiful and as talented as you are, seeing you on the screen or hearing you sing or hear you do it, you still have to live life. And you
Absolutely.
have to look in that mirror. You still have to get to know that person and make sure that that person is acceptable, not only just to the world, but to yourself.
To yourself. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if it's just the older you get, but you really recognize, how can I expect someone to want to be around me if I don't want to be around myself, if I don't like myself? And it has taken challenges and just different things that life has brought my way for me to really truly sit down and be like, okay, I like me. I like me. Am I perfect? No. I remember when my husband told me I wasn't perfect. I was like, what?
Ooh.
He was like, why do you think you're not perfect? And it's okay. You're not supposed to be. And I was, we're not. We're not even close. But we are wonderfully made. And if you just look at that and you accept yourself for who you are, it is a beautiful thing, because then that means it doesn't matter what anybody else says. I
Right.
don't care, because I know my heart, I know my motivation. I know that maybe sometimes I don't always do it the way that you would want it to be done, but I know why I do what I do. And if I'm quick to apologize if I do something that you tell me has offended you. That's fine. Okay. But you don't get to tell me who I am.
Yes.
I know who I am, and I like who I am. And the moment you start letting people tell you who you are is the moment you will never know who you are.
Isn't that? Oh, yes. That's
You
huge.
know? Because that's so many different people will have so many different opinions of you. You don't get to decide who I am.
Yeah.
This is my life. No, I know who I am.
Because what comes to mind, the movie Runaway Bride with
Hmm.
uh
Julia Roberts.
yes, with Julia Roberts.
Hmm.
And in that movie, the reporter, he made a big deal about her eggs, because with every guy she was with, that's how she liked her eggs. And
Hmm.
so while that may seem like a small thing, what he was trying to point out to her is that you don't even know what you like, because you're so
Yeah.
busy trying to, fit in and do what
Yep.
everybody else likes, do what he likes. This is why you keep running away,
Hmm.
because you haven't
Hmm.
to stay. Really, she hadn't found a reason to stay with herself. If you
Yeah.
don't really know who
Yep.
you are, then you're really no good to those that are around you. And that's what came to mind
100%.
when you said that. That's huge. And I'm sure that that'll be
100%.
beneficial for somebody, again, which is why I do this. Usually after my interviews, I get a lot of calls, I get emails, I get, with
Mm.
different nuggets, and you've given a mouthful. Really, you've given a mouthful that my goal is for women and girls to understand, really all women and girls, but most importantly, women of color. And the reason why I say
Mhm.
most importantly, not that other women are not important, but you know what it means to sit in the skin. And you know what
Absolutely.
it means on one side or the other. You know what that means. And so
Yeah.
not only do we have to deal with normal life, normal women stuff, then we have the added pressure on, just sitting in this skin and being constantly reminded by everybody
Mm-hmm.
that I'm in this skin, and you have to figure out, okay, today, am I dressing because, of what somebody's going to think of me? And so then you have to, okay, when I go to work, I have to wear my hair a certain way. I have to talk a certain way. I have to dress a certain way. When I go around the girls or like you said, going into an audition, seeing another woman of color in the room. And I know you've experienced it where you have 10,000 things going through your mind. Is she good? Because, we talk to each other without opening our mouths, right?
Yes.
That's that unspoken language. It's like,
Yes.
are you a sister, S-U-S,
Mm-hmm.
or are you an S-I-S? Which one are you going to be?
Yeah.
At eye contact, we usually know one way or the other. And it's
Yep.
refreshing when you get that S-U-S, like, okay, all right, we here
Yes.
down. If I don't make it, I'm going to boost you. If you don't make it,
Yes.
it's like, it's that look that we got each other's back. I don't have to know you,
Yep.
but we got it. And when we get
100.
each other, that to me is like worth its weight in gold. That
Absolutely.
that encouragement that says, you know what, we're in this together, and we're going to give each other that little boost, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah,
That's the value.
yeah, yeah. Tell me this. So, how was it for you? Was there a time in your life when you were like at your lowest point where, it just seemed like everything was not the way you hoped it to be? Um, Tell me about that experience, if you've experienced that, and how you were able to overcome that to get to where you are now.
Mm. Um, a lowest point. I
Anytime that
don't
you felt like
know.
things just didn't go, how sometimes, well, if we want to really be frank, how sometimes even when it's around that time of the month and the hormones are raging,
Oh, absolutely.
and it seems like the whole world is just, just for that week, what, the whole world is falling apart, it's the apocalypse.
And nothing's right. Nothing's right. Nothing can be right. No, I think for me, certainly when it comes to my career, I was at a point where, say, I graduated with my MFA in 2010, and then I started doing working with Women of Faith, which was a conference that went all across the country to arenas, like 10 to 15,000 women, every city that they went to. And I would go, and it was my first job out of grad school, and I would perform like 2 or 3 monologues during the course of the weekend. And it was an incredible job. I also met my husband at that time. We got married in 2013. Shortly after we got married, I started doing the workshop for my uncle's musical, Born for This, the B.B. Winans story. We did the first workshop, and I remember coming back home because we did the workshop in Boston. I remember coming back home to LA, telling my husband, I'm never doing it again. I don't sing like that. There is no way that I can sing like Cece. There's a reason why there's only one Cece Winans. She ain't me. I ain't her. It's not gonna happen. And then looking to try to find an agent. I could not find an agent for the life of me. They kept saying, "Oh, we want new talent. We want new talent." But then you say, "Well, I'm new talent. I just graduated from here. This is what I've been doing." Oh, well, what else have you been doing? Do you have a reel? Have you been in a short film? I'm like, no, I've been in nothing. That's why I'm new. I'm new. And I did not understand for the life of me that catch 22. Like, how is this going to work? I'm new talent, but you don't want me. And so I did the workshop, and then the next year, my uncle called, so they were going to do another workshop, and I was like, And I said, "Oh, okay." I was on the phone with Uncle B. I was like, "Oh, okay, Uncle B. All right, well, let me know." And I hung up and I told my husband, "I'm not doing it. I am not doing it. People expect me to be Cece. I'm not Cece. I'm not going to do it. And then my husband, this is why you got to marry somebody that understands who you're supposed to be, even when you don't understand. My husband said, when is the flight? She's going to be there. Like,
love him.
And so, and right before I left, I found out that he asked my brother to come in and be BB.
Wow.
And I said, oh, well, at least I get to hang out with my brother for a week. Okay, this will be great. And then it just turned into something that I don't think any of us were expecting. We clearly, there's chemistry because he's my brother. And we work well together, and then we sound good together. And then he started helping me with the music, and I was helping him with the acting. And then it just worked. But even in the midst of that, singing is just not my love. And so I was still trying to find a way to get an agent, still couldn't get one. And I remember, I feel like it was 2015. It was March 2015. We did our last workshop in New York for this musical because we knew that in 2016, we actually had an official production. We were going to do this play in Atlanta, and then we were going to go that summer to DC and do it again at Arena Stage. So we knew we had a production in 2016. Juan and I knew that we were BB and CC, and that was great. That next year we had that to look forward to. So when we did our last workshop in New York, Uncle BB knows people, and
just a few.
The late great Cicely Tyson was there.
Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey was there. Gayle King was there. I mean, and this is a rehearsal room, like a dank, dark rehearsal room in New York, where we are sitting on basic chairs and we have music stands in front of us with scripts and a man with a piano. So it's like, wow, are we really doing this in front of all of these amazing people? But we did. We did. It was lovely. It was fun. And then that was that. And that was in March of 2015. So by June, one of my best friends, she's like my sister, she got married. She lives in New York. So I flew her to New York. I was in her wedding. She got married. The wedding was lovely. Came back home to LA. And I remember it was in the morning and I was just out in the living room on the couch, just praying. I was like, God, I just reached a point where I didn't understand why, even knowing that I have a production coming next year, I could not get an agent. I could not get a yes. And I was like, God, I know the gift that you've given me. But if I'm wrong, I need you to show me something else. But if I am where I'm supposed to be, then I need you to open the door. I can't do it on my own. I feel like I've done everything that I can do, and I need you to do the rest. And I kid you not, Shannon, 2 days later, I got a call from my uncle saying, hey, guess who just called me? I said, who? He said, Oprah. I said, really? Wow. She's talking about the play. Did she like the play? He said, she called me because she wants you to email her your headshot and resume. I said, I'm sorry, what? He said, yeah, she has this new show and she thinks that you'd be perfect and she wants you to. I said, is this a joke? I email her my stuff. She hits me back and says, thank you so much for getting this to me so quickly. Can I have your phone number? I said, yes, you sure can.
My phone number, and my address, my social security.
You have everything, whatever you want. And she called me and told me the little bit that she could about Greenleaf. And then she said, you know, I mentioned you to the network and unfortunately nobody knows who you are. And I said, well, they wouldn't. I haven't done anything. She said, it's okay. I think that they'll see what I see when it's time for you to audition. And so I'm going to make sure your stuff gets to, you know, the casting director in Lionsgate and somebody will be in touch about an audition. I'm going to open the door for you as wide as I possibly can. And when it's time for you to audition, do what you Winans do. And I said, wow. And thank you for remembering me. Thank you for considering me. And we were done. And then I did the audition. But before even the audition, that showed me, do the work, do what you know you've been put here to do, and in the right timing, God is going to blow your mind. Never in a million years did I think my first opportunity would come, because Oprah Winfrey saw me in a rehearsal room in New York and remembered me months later and believed in me. Greenleaf was the first scripted series that they were doing on OWN that wasn't Tyler Perry. And so they had to really build. And so they got Keith David, they got Lynn Whitfield, they got Greg Allen Williams, they got Lamont Rucker, they got people with names. Yeah. And then they still said, Charity Greenleaf will be Deborah Joy Winans, a series regular. I hadn't even been a guest star or a co-star. Wow. But here I am, a series regular on a brand new scripted TV series coming on OWN. And I was ready. Wow. I was ready because I had done the work. But right before that moment, right before the breakthrough, was my lowest time of feeling like,
this is just not
I don't know what else I have to give. I'm not sure anymore. Like, what is this? I don't know why it's so hard for me.
Wow. That takes me to a place. You just, yeah, that.
Every time for me, because it's I will never get used to God's goodness. And I'll never just get used to the way he shows you are exactly where you're supposed to be.
Wow. That's beautiful. I mean, this is why I do this, because you just don't know how you just encouraged me. So, I mean, really, I appreciate your transparency. I appreciate that, because we all go through those moments where it seems like it's never going to happen, and then we're reminded often of how big our God is. And then once he shows up, then we forget again. And then he's like, oh, okay, so let me go even bigger this time.
Right.
So that I know every hair on your head.
Yeah.
Why would I not show up for you?
Why would I not? Absolutely.
It's beautiful. I thank you for that. I thank you. And I know that that's going to bless others. I know that that's going to be for many. That actually takes me into my theme for this season, which is defining self-love. And you've really described it in so many ways, but for the sake of asking the question, how does Deborah Joy Winans define self-love?
I define self-love by simply seeing myself. I think a lot of times we look at ourselves, particularly in this industry, through the lens of other people and what they say. Whether or not you were great in one episode, whether or not you are too thick in an episode. And I've seen so many comments, mostly wonderful, but a lot of, oh, she's too thick, she needs to stop eating, or why they get her, or she's so dark, and a lot of times we see so much of it and we begin to look at ourselves through that lens, because that's just kind of what's happening. And then also through the lens of society and what's hot right now and what's not, and all these different trends. And for me, self-love is just looking at me for me, being happy with what I see when I wake up in the morning. And then building from there. What is it I feel like I need today? Outside of, self-love for me is also making sure I get up and I read my word and I pray. Self-love is making sure my husband's happy, because that makes me happy. And then just seeing what I can do that's going to further what I'm supposed to be bringing to people and serving people in this world. That's the self-love. There's always the occasional girls' day, which actually for me is every other week, because Jamel Hill and Kelly Carter are like two of my best friends, and every other week we sit in the backyard and we just talk and we laugh and we uplift each other and we watch crazy movies and we get our nails done and we just enjoy each other. That's self-love. Self-love comes in so many different forms for me, but I think initially it has to start with me just waking up and seeing myself through my own lens and liking what I see.
That's beautiful. No, that's well said. I mean, just well said. I have one last question I wanted to ask you, and then we'll go into our last part where we'll do a word association, where I will
Okay.
say a word and then you just tell me what first comes to your mind. Um,
Okay.
Before we get to that, I want to ask you, how does Charity Bernice Greenleaf resonate with Deborah Joy Winans? Do you find her in Deborah Joy?
The part of Charity that I do find in Deborah Joy is the fighter. Um, Charity, I loved her arc. I loved her journey from beginning to end. You meet her and she's young, she's naive, and by the time you leave her, she is resilient. She
Been through it
is
all.
powerful. Been through it all. She understands her worth, and she's a fighter. She's made so many bad decisions, but at every point, she's gotten back up.
Yeah.
And your life is not defined by how many mistakes you make or how many times you get knocked down. It's defined by how many times you get back up. And Charity always got back up. And I think that is the biggest crossover between Charity Greenleaf and Deborah Joy Winans is I'm always going to get back up. Sometimes it may take me a minute. Sometimes the pain may be real rough. But I don't get to wallow in it too long. Always got to get back up.
Beautiful. Again, well said. I mean, you've just,
Thank you.
again, not knowing you personally, but just, reading about you, watching you on film, you kind of think you get a gauge of, how someone would be. And not, I mean, I expected you to be wonderful, but it's like you over exceeded my expectations. I mean, really.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, and this is what resonates with my audience: the authenticity, the transparency,
Amen.
and the honesty. You know what? Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm not so great. You know what? And other
Yeah.
times I hit it out of the park, and that's okay, because
And
we're
that's okay.
all of those things. And
Yes.
you've done it all well. You've done it all
Thank you.
well. So
Thank
thank you.
Shannon.
I appreciate you just really opening up and just sharing with us who you really are from the inside out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we got to do for each other.
Oh, isn't that the truth? Amen.
Yeah.
So we'll go into our last part of word association, and just whatever comes to mind. That's what, we want you to share. So
Okay.
we'll start. Greenleaf. You had to know it was coming.
Chaos.
Okay. Charity.
Pain.
Okay. Breathing.
Life.
Love.
Terrence James Williams. That's my husband, if y'all want to know.
That's beautiful. Family.
Happy place.
Juan.
Did you say Juan?
Mm-hmm.
My brother.
And I have to say, on a side note, you guys, not only did you have the greatest chemistry, I mean, yeah, it may have been in part because you're brother and sister, and I get the pressure because we all love BB and Cece, and we know there's only one BB and Cece. But I will say, and I hope I can speak for them in saying, you two did them proud. I mean,
Thank
really,
you.
to listen to you two on stage and singing, because BB and CC, they just have the kind of chemistry I don't think I've ever seen in
Yeah.
gospel or otherwise. I mean, we have some really
Yeah.
talented people out there, but there was just that
Yeah.
little something extra. So to be able to pull that
Yeah.
off, I mean, I say
Thank you.
thank God for your husband. How about that? We're
Right?
gonna give it up
I
for the
do
men on Hello
everything
Beautiful today.
day.
Daddy early on and now for puppy. Good job.
Yes, every single day. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I only have two more. One has
Mhm.
song.
What was
Song.
it?
Song.
Song. Mm, worship.
And then the most important one, Deborah.
Love.
You are
I'm
fabulous.
happy. I'm happy with me.
Yeah. And it shows. It shows. It
Thank
shows
you.
not even in an arrogant or conceited way. It shows in a way to say, you know what? I had to get to know her in order to put
Hmm.
the best version of her in front of others.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it shows. It
And
shows.
it's still evolving, but it's, this is me.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you spending this time with us. I appreciate you sharing your heart. I expect nothing but the best. I
Thank
believe that the Lord is
you.
going to open up all kind of doors for you, and
Amen.
probably even far beyond even what you would expect. Because even sitting
Absolutely.
listening to you and sharing with you, you're a great actress. You sing beautifully, but there is something in that of being an encouragement and something in
Mm.
inspiration where other women can look at you and say, you know what, if she can, I can, and be
Amen. I receive that. That is something that makes me smile. That's all I want to do. So thank you, Shannon, for creating this platform for people to come and get that encouragement, that healing, that moment of aha, and being able to leave understanding that they are enough. We need more platforms like this. So thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I will leave you with this. Oprah once told me when I ended up getting the script where I saw that I was going to be singing a song with Patti LaBelle. Now, singing is not my passion, but I don't know anybody that's going to turn down a song singing with Patti LaBelle. And I just thought, oh my gosh. And I told Oprah, this is incredible. Never in a million years did I dream I would be singing a song with Patti LaBelle. And she said, never forget that God dreams bigger dreams for you than you can ever dream for yourself. So whatever dreams you have, go for them. God has bigger.
wow. Thank you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for having me.
absolutely. This has been such a pleasure, such a joy. I wish you nothing but God's best. Be blessed, be inspired to greater things. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Same, right back at you, Shannon. Thank you so much.
On the next episode of Shannon Ayers Speaks, we are excited to meet the beautiful Angie Stone.